For tryouts. What I am here to do is, if you ask a question like that, my response is, I really believe that what we need in this country is leadership that brings character, honesty, integrity. That's what Joe Biden brought to the job. I believe Kamala Harris will bring that to the job, too.
That's Governor J.B. Pritzker on Friday answering some questions, or that was actually Thursday, where he was ultimately asked, is he trying out to be the VP for Kamala Harris? Illinois in Focus Daily. Good morning. Short segment just to kind of keep you posted on what exactly the governor is talking about in national media. As the state of Illinois here has its own policies and politics. You got Governor J.B. Pritzker taking to the national stage to share some of his thoughts on the national political scene, especially with all the tumult there's been. It's been pretty tumultuous, right? I mean, in the past 3 weeks, you had an attempted assassination attempt on a Republican presidential candidate just before the Republican National Convention, where it was made official that Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee, J.D. Vance being the vice presidential nominee, and then shortly thereafter, President Joe Biden announces he's not going to run for getting back up on it and reconnecting. So I appreciate you guys being here, especially for Illinois in Focus Daily. So it looks like we're going to start back up here. Appreciate that. Data froze a little bit, but hey, it's live to tape here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell anywhere. All right, so again, we were talking about Governor J.B. Pritzker being asked if he's auditioning, if he's trying out to be the vice presidential candidate. And he's been asked those questions all last week after Biden stepped out of the race, endorsed Harris, and the cavalcade of Democrat leaders saying that they're endorsing Harris, including J.B. Pritzker. Next month is the Democrat National Convention, so the politics of all of this is going to be fascinating. But here's the governor on ABC's This Week being asked directly again if he has received or has submitted vetting materials.
Let's just get this out of the way. You were one of several people being floated as a possible VP pick. I know you said you don't want to discuss private conversations, but have you submitted any vetting paperwork, talked to Kamala Harris about it at all?
Well, certainly I've talked to Kamala Harris last week, of course, as things were evolving. Had a great conversation with her, and I pledged to her that no matter what the outcome of this process, that I'd be working hard for her and making sure that she wins in November. It's too important. We've got too much at stake, not just democracy, and we've talked about that, and it's not a small topic, but also making sure that we're securing women's right to choose, to make sure that we're fighting for working families, that we're raising wages across the United States and growing the economy. And that's what she's been doing along with our...
But Governor, let me ask you again, have you submitted any vetting paperwork?
Well, like I said, I'm not going to talk about that. I am going to talk about what I think is important in this campaign, and that's winning, beating Donald Trump, standing up for democratic values.
So again, the governor there being asked directly, has he submitted vetting materials to be the vice presidential candidate? Illinois is a blue state. There's no question. It's winner take all in the November election. Whichever presidential candidates, electors get the most votes, they get all of Illinois' electoral college votes. So Illinois historically has gone for Democrats. So is it politically expedient for Harris to pick a Democrat governor from a Democrat state, or should Harris go for a Democrat governor from a Republican state or from a more right-leaning state? again, this will develop, obviously, as it moves forward, but the governor continues to answer questions as to whether he's running for vice president. You also have President Biden this week. I believe today he's going to unveil some constitutional amendments or some policies that he says that the U.S. Supreme Court needs to implement about ethics and transparency. And those types of things. And it'll be interesting to see, for instance, if Governor Pritzker is asked about Supreme Court ethics, considering what we saw last year with the gun ban challenge from Dan Calkins going to the Illinois Supreme Court and challenging the fact that two of the sitting Supreme Court justices in Illinois, when they were running for office, received $1 million each from Governor J.B. Pritzker, one of the named defendants in the gun ban challenge that Illinois Supreme Court took up and heard, but also one of the main defendants in another challenge to another Illinois law that was challenged in the Illinois Supreme Court, dealing with the issue of where you can file lawsuits. So, yeah, the issue of Illinois Supreme Court and the questions of ethics and whether or not justices should have recused themselves in certain cases, having received financial benefit to their campaigns from the governor, while you've also got the president on his way out talking about U.S. Supreme Court ethics. Be interesting to see how that conversation goes. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, here each and every weekday morning. Join us live at America's Talking Network on YouTube, but you can also subscribe to the podcast. No breaks, get right. America's Talking Network, Illinois in Focus Daily. Each and every weekday morning, I'm Greg Bishop, here with you. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air.
I don't say this to scare people, but we have to wake up to the fact, and we've done this on the committee, China has a plan to replace the United States, and they're working at it every single day. They want to replace us technologically, militarily, from a national security standpoint, and diplomatically. And it's not like a 1 or 2 year plan, this is like a 100-year plan. And they don't, the thing about a communist country, elections don't get in the way, right? Democracy doesn't get in the way. Human rights don't get in the way. It's full speed ahead.
That's Congressman Darren LaHood Friday, joining a Michigan congressman, John Molinaire, who is talking about in Green Charter Township in Michigan, Gotion, setting up there. But we have the same situation in Illinois, out of Kankakee County, Manteno, where Gotion has property, and you've got citizens who are pretty upset. But also the taxpayer subsidies in all of this. Welcome back. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. So Friday, you had several congressmen hold a roundtable in Green Charter Township on Chinese electric vehicle battery manufacturer Gotion's high-tech's problems and their connections to the Communist Chinese Party, and also slave labor, a whole host of other concerns here. Here's Congressman Molinaire talking about just some of the connections that the company Gotion has with the Chinese Communist Party.
You should know that Gotion's supply chains are linked to human rights abuses and the CCP's genocide of Uyghurs, a religious minority in China. The CCP has forced this group into internment camps and subjected them to murder, torture, gang rape, forced sterilizations, and slave labor. In June, my team and I on the Select Committee identified multiple links between Gotion's supply chain and this genocide.
So a lot of red flags there for individuals, especially considering that there are tax subsidies and tax credits being made, not just by the federal government, but the state of Illinois with the Kankakee County deal. Amanda Piker, she is from the Manteno area and is among other citizens suing Gotion over the deal. She says that there are significant problems they have locally. And she was part of this roundtable in Michigan talking about the Gotion situation there, but also how it translates to Illinois.
First and foremost, we all wanted to know how this happened without anyone's knowledge. Our mayor, Tim Nugent, happens to be the president of the Economic Alliance of Kankakee County. This is a public-private entity of self-appointed business leaders in our county. Acting as president of the Economic Alliance, our mayor signed a non-disclosure agreement and was prohibited from disclosing details of the Gotion deal to the citizens. In August of 2023, prior to the Gotion announcement, our mayor, acting as president of the Economic Alliance, visited every taxing body in our county asking for the boards to approve a $2 million tax abatement for 30 years. He presented this deal as Project Unity, which is the title the state of Illinois gave the Gotion deal. In addition to $536 million in Illinois tax credits, Gotion was giving a 30-year cap on its property at $2 million. The majority of the citizens had only about 2 days to process what was happening in our community. Based on the inflated sale of the building, which was on the market for $58 million before the deal, and sold to Gotion afterwards for $137 million. We are very concerned about the proximity of Gotion to our town. The plant is less than 1,200 feet from 14 residential homes that are located within a large subdivision, less than a half a mile from a school, another large subdivision, and daycares.
So clearly, tons of questions and concerns that Amanda has, and you had Congressman LaHood delve a bit deeper into the Illinois deal and the serious red flags of the connections between Gotion and the Chinese Communist Party. Here's Congressman LaHood Friday.
In September 2023, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker announced that the Chinese-based battery manufacturer decided to move forward with a new operation facility in Manteno, Illinois, a town located in Kankakee, Illinois, nearby my district. In doing so, Governor Pritzker gave Gotion a lucrative taxpayer-subsidized package that would cost Illinoisans more than $500 million. In addition, Gotion is said to be, quote, reviewing and assessing, unquote, how it will use the green energy tax credits President Biden signed into law in 2022 to their benefit, also known as the IRA, which John and I voted against. In our extensive work on the Select Committee on China, we have uncovered disturbing ties between Gotion, the CCP, and forced labor, which raise serious concerns about our national and economic security. In a recent Foreign Agents Registration Act filing, Gotion claimed it was, quote, wholly owned and controlled by, unquote, its parent company, Gotion High Tech, which is based in China. According to their own bylaws, Gotion is required to, quote, to carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the CCP, unquote. In June, our committee uncovered links to forced labor between Gotion and the CCP, including Gotion sources aluminum foil from a subsidy known as Xinjiang Nefarious, a CCP state-owned enterprise known for its prolific use of forced labor, including forced housing of Han men with Uyghur women and families. Gotion sources material from Xinjiang Join World, a company that participated in, quote, poverty alleviation through labor transfer, unquote. These programs are often a disguise for forced labor. A local CCP chapter even awarded Xinjiang Join World employee an award for implementing the CCP's ethnic policies. This activity is unacceptable and raises serious concerns about the intentions of Gotion here in the United States. We know that the CCP and President Xi have an agenda to challenge the United States' economic leadership and are determined to maintain their market-dominant position on critical mineral and battery supply chains. Further, the CCP has made it clear that it will utilize any means necessary to achieve those goals, particularly through state-owned and subsidized enterprises that engage in forced labor. While I believe it is important that we incentivize business growth, it is simply unacceptable that governors like J.B. Pritzker and Gretchen Whitmer have decided to leave taxpayers on the hook for billions in federal subsidies, funneling the companies beholden to malign actors like the CCP.
So again, Congressman LaHood, during a roundtable in Michigan, talking about Gotion's connections to the CCP and the taxpayer benefits, the tax credits and even subsidies from the federal government that are for electric battery manufacturers. But LaHood says he's going to continue to work with others to fight for accountability.
To hold CCP and politicians like J.B. Pritzker, who are willing to throw taxpayers under the bus at the risk of harming our national security, accountable. We cannot allow the CCP to gain a foothold in our backyards at taxpayer expense. Thank you all for being.
So LaHood, again, talking of the importance of keeping a spotlight on this issue, and that roundtable included individuals from, think tanks, and also the supervisor for Green Charter Township, Jason Cruz. He laid out, again, the Michigan lawsuit against Gotion in all of this, how it's still tied up in federal courts, but what are the next steps? Here's the supervisor of Green Charter Township, Jason Cruz.
This time where we stand in our federal court case is the judge issued a opinion on the case, and also put a temporary injunction on the township. Now, let me be very clear. The court case is a contractual dispute on our development agreement that was signed before we took office with the old board. Okay, it's a contractual dispute. So what we did is we came back to the judge and we asked her to reconsider her opinion and maybe reconsider the fact that she's throwing an injunction. We asked that also with clarification. So how it's played out is that's submitted to the judge. And the judge gives Gotion a few weeks to respond. That date is come and gone. It was July 14th. And we are now waiting to hear from the federal court exactly where we stand on that reconsideration. As far as
so a lot more to go with that, but there's also a lawsuit that the people of Matino have filed in this whole conversation. So are we going to see this move forward? Is it going to be held up by lawsuits? Are the tax subsidies and the tax credits going to go through? Something we'll definitely be watching closely here. With Illinois in Focus Daily, I'm Greg Bishop. Thank you so much for tuning in each and every weekday morning here. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us each and every weekday morning. Seems like 8 o'clock Central is when is the best time for me to start that. So you can get the live updates as we go here on YouTube, or you can subscribe to the podcast. Just search Illinois in Focus Daily. Next month, the eyes of the world are going to be on Chicago for the Democratic National Convention, especially after all of the tumult we've seen in the Democrat Party, with Joe Biden saying he's not running for re-election, with Kamala Harris lining up the delegates to be the nominee. But could anything happen on the convention floor? We, of course, with the Center Square, will be there on the ground, so be sure to wake up each and every morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell at America's Talking Network, and stay up to date as we're on the ground and giving you those daily updates. But somebody else who's on the ground regularly in Chicago is reporter William Kelly, independent journalist, somebody out there on the streets talking to the sources, knowing what's happening. He joins us now live to talk about some of the latest headlines. Of course, William will talk about the convention and the preparations that are happening there. But we've also got the headlines of yet again another weekend where, sadly, lives were lost. And in particular, you've got a 3-month-old child that lost their life. Thanks for joining us this morning, William.
God bless you, Greg. Thank you for having me. Right. Another 22 reported shootings, 2 fatalities, one of them, 3-month-old child. We hear our mayor talking about Sonia Massey, who was shot and killed in Springfield, Illinois. But for whatever reason, he doesn't seem to be aware of the shootings, the murders. I mean, really, thousands upon thousands of unsolved shootings and murders that are in the city of Chicago. He has spent in recent weeks another $200+ million on violence interrupters who and these youth programs. They're obviously not working. $100 million of that money came from the business community. My sources inside this business community say that they felt that they were being extorted, that it was kind of pay up or else. But regardless, 100 million here, 100 million there, and still we have an average of 20 to 45 shootings every weekend, Greg.
Obviously, a lot of concern of the violence in Chicago, but there was also a protest over the weekend, a march with the spotlight on what happened here in Springfield. And we had a segment about this last week whenever the surveillance, or not the surveillance, but the body camera footage came out of that sheriff's deputy arriving on the scene for a call of somebody looking to get some help. All right, they had a suspected prowler, whatever the call may have been. They were looking for assistance, but that's not how that evening ended up. And in the early morning hours, Sonia Massey was shot in the face by a Sangamon County sheriff's deputy who's currently behind bars, facing murder charges and no longer a sheriff's deputy. But you've got the community coming out in Chicago, not just in Springfield. And quite frankly, William, this is something that's been seen across the country, with even the president of the United States reflecting on this. How does this help with any kind of worries and concerns that minority communities, especially in Chicago, have with Chicago police, who have their own tumultuous history when it comes to race relations, and even who's the detective that got all those fraudulent, guilty, confessions out of people, so that history's still there. How do you think that the community's reacting to the Sonia Massey shooting?
Well, as a lifelong Chicagoan, born and raised on the south side of Chicago, it has always astounded me that whether it's the mayor or the governor or obviously, historically speaking, Father Flagler or Reverend Jackson, the only time they ever seem to protest any shooting or any murder is when there's a white police officer involved. Like I said, we had a 3-month-old baby shot dead in Chicago this last weekend, and I haven't heard a peep out of the mayor or the governor or Jesse Jackson about that. Hundreds and thousands of unsolved shootings and murders in the city of Chicago, and you never hear Jesse Jackson protesting that. But if there's a white police officer involved, there will be anger, there'll be frustration, there'll be protest marches, and I can't help but wonder also, politically speaking, how that helps Johnson or Pritzker politically to try and inflame racial hatred leading up to the DNC, when already the only real headlines that the DNC convention are generating in this local, state, national is that there will be 50,000 plus protesters, people who are already inflamed. They're already angry. They already want to break windows and set fires and attack random innocent people on the street. How is further enraging people about this this tragic shooting of Sonia Massey? How is that helping, Greg?
Of course, the sheriff's deputy being charged with murder in this case, Sean Grayston, all the headlines coming out about his work history, questionable, and of course that's going to drive calls for reforms on policing and how police are hired and making sure they check backgrounds and such. So we'll clearly have a lot more conversation about that entire situation. But you talk about the DNC, we'll talk about the security apparatus around it. You mentioned the thousands of protesters who are expected outside the security perimeter. But what about the impact of potentially thousands of non-citizen migrants coming into the city that the city says they haven't budgeted for but are fully anticipating because of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's recent comments?
Well, there you go, Greg, 100% right. Where, again, the number that we're being told is 25,000 migrants will be bused to the city of Chicago during the DNC. This is usually, whenever you hear these numbers, they usually are double or triple. Like, for example, the city of Chicago is spending an average of $1 million per day on migrant vendors. Okay, that's just the vendors. That's not healthcare or education or the other obvious city services or taxpayer funded services that are going to migrants. What we are seeing, and I see it with my own eyes, in all parts of Chicago, including downtown, where typically the mayor or the governor would want to show off the Gold Coast, the Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, to any conventions, certainly the DNC, with hundreds of media expected to also attend this convention, local, state, national, yourself included, Greg. You would want to show off the Magnificent Mile. I can tell you right now, the number of clearly mentally ill homeless people on Michigan Avenue is shocking. So whatever they've done to try and clean up homeless camps, it seems to have forced these homeless people, many of whom appear to have mental illness. They're not only talking to themselves, they're screaming, to themselves and at random people walking past. So, a perfectly normal person can be walking down the street and have a homeless person come up right behind them and start screaming at them. I don't think there's any real rhyme or reason to it. So, the obvious question that somebody would ask is, why are they screaming? What did you do to them, Greg? No, they're mentally ill, and they're violent. And then now you combine that with with these migrants that are increasingly committing crimes. They're increasingly driving cars without any license plates, tags. They don't, nobody ever took the time. Our Secretary of State, Alexi Janulius, never took the time to explain to them that there are streets that go in one-way streets. So you'll see them going double, triple the speed limit down a one-way street. And I've been the victim of a out of control driver who hit me, who totaled my car, practically killed me, got out of the car and ran down the street on foot. So, I mean, this is happening every day to law-abiding Chicagoans who are trying to go about their jobs. And now we have the DNC. The police superintendent, who is black, by the way, to his credit, said, got up in front of a microphone last week and said, I heard him say that, yes, the goal is to keep all of the convention, all of Pritzker and Johnson's convention gala party guests safe. But his goal is also to keep the citizens of Chicago safe. Well, the problem with that statement, is well-intended as it may be, is that the citizens of Chicago haven't been safe up until now. How are the police going to keep them safe during this convention when you've got 50,000 plus violent protesters who are being kept out of the convention area, what they call the safety bubble? They're going to put the DNC, the delegates, the party guests in what they call a safety bubble. And obviously, I mean, you don't even have to be, some law enforcement expert. That's clearly going to force these angry, violent protesters, mentally ill, and now the migrants, to go to what I guess you could call a soft target, which is everywhere else.
Well, having seen the security apparatus at the RNC earlier this month, I imagine that the perimeter is going to be a nice buffer between the protests and whoever's walking into the DNC operations. So we'll be watching that closely. William Kelly, independent reporter out of Chicago. Always appreciate chatting with you, and we'll talk again in the near future. All right.
See you soon, Greg. God bless.
All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell each and every weekday morning with America's Talking Network, and get the podcast. If you can't watch live, you can join us at the podcast. Just search Illinois in Focus, and you should find it wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day. All right, a few things going on today that we will cover and bring back to you. Of course, we've got to continue monitoring what the governor has to say about the national political space. He's got two events today. One, he's signing legislation. Another, he is talking about health care, I believe. But we've also got the State Fair preview coming up, which is going to be interesting. Of course, the State Fair here in Springfield each and every year. It's always a good time, 10 days worth. If you haven't been to the fair, maybe this is the year to go. I don't know. I've got a buddy who's never been to the fair, and we got Smashing Pumpkin tickets. So that's his entry into the fair. Looking forward to it. It's the State Fair. We'll bring you all the corn dogs and fun stuff. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Greatly appreciate you guys being here. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Follow me anywhere. Just search Bishop on Air. And catch us weekday mornings here. We'll see you soon. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we'll go live, and we'll do it live. It's Illinois in Focus Daily.